right. I'm waiting till 9:15. All right, welcome everyone on this glorious, beautiful Mother's Day. It is with great joy that I welcome all of us. And Denise, if you'll start us with prayer, then we'll get to introductions.
Thank you. So please join me in prayer. Creator God, God of us all, who created all beings that are. And so we thank you this day for the opportunity to just come together and to fellowship, to celebrate women especially, but all of those who nurture us in the many ways that we are nurtured, that companion, that give birth to us, that encourage us, that love us in ways as you have loved us as a mother. And so we ask that you open our hearts to not only be thankful for the important women in our lives, but for all life givers, that life is so important. And we know that we need a whole village to raise us. And so these things we ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. So it's with great joy and gratitude that I introduce Venus Masalam, who has become a very important member of Adult Education Lay Ministry and has enlivened our ideas and thinking and lives and programming this year in so many different ways, as she has put together this particular panel. Venus is a lifespan developmental psychologist and just a wonderful friend and member. And without any ado, I will hand the program over to her this morning.
Thank you for that kind introduction. Yeah, it is an exceptional panel, I'll tell you. When we were listening to each other, people said they were inspired. So it was pretty impressive, and I'm very appreciative of being able to have something like this at this church, and that the church is open to this kind of thing. And what I want to say, the purpose of our panel is to emphasize that the women of the 21st century are not the women of the 20th century. Not that the women of the 20th century and all the centuries before haven't done their work and contributed enormously. But there is one thing that's very different now in the 21st century. Everything is a choice. To be a mother, to be married, to be a single mother, to be whatever you want to be. And that's why I think to call it Mother's Day and Women's Day is a really important thing. Because all women should be recognized for their contribution. And the major thing in my mind, as I said, is the choice. And I think I'm going to leave it there. The panel members are going to introduce themselves as they tell you their story. And that is the purpose. We have a short meeting because there's a tea after this that we're supposed to attend. So it's going to be a little shorter than usual. So I'm going to start down there because the tea organizer. Get out of here in time to get the tea going.
Hi, I am Rosanna Howard. I am the Director of Children, Youth, and Family Ministries here at Bradley Hills Presbyterian. And I have been in this role only for a little over a year. And prior to that, I thought the highest calling of mine was to be a mother. I was a nurturer from childhood. I'm the oldest of 3 girls, and I was my little sister's mama. I loved being with younger kids. I would go to the nursery at church and take care of the little kids. And all I wanted, really, I mean, it's not that I didn't have dreams and aspirations, but I really just wanted to be a mother. I felt like that was my calling. And I got married right before I turned 30, and we immediately started trying to have kids and went through some fertility struggles. And it's interesting. I was teaching high school at the time, high school drama, and I did this activity with my high schoolers where you were given a present, and it was an improv activity, and you were to open up the present, and inside was the thing you wanted most in the world. And then you were to pantomime it, and then the group would guess what it was. And I guess at one point in doing this, I opened up my present, and it was a baby. And I had a student when I finally got pregnant that said, Miss Rosanna, I remember how much you wanted a baby and how that, that, and I have this vision of you, and I'm just so happy that you are finally a mother. And, but she said, I want you to know, it didn't take you getting pregnant to be a mother, because you have been, they called me Mama Howard. You have been a mama to all of us. I stayed home. My boys were born 14 months apart. And so, from the time that I'm also a military spouse, I should throw that in. So from the time that we moved to Kansas, I was about 6 months pregnant, and then I stayed home with my boys up until the pandemic. And I really completely lost myself in motherhood. In good ways, in amazing ways, and in really unhealthy ways. My entire identity became about being a mother and became about these boys. And my hobbies all of a sudden were related to that. I started a baby wearing nonprofit where we taught mothers how to wear their babies. I was a La Leche League consultant and worked with mothers on breastfeeding. And pretty much everything, I kind of shifted all my hobbies, then focused. I became a blogger, a mom blogger about sustainability and cloth diapering, and it was fun, and also just completely lost myself in that, forgot who I was, and forgot about all the other hopes and dreams that I had in motherhood. And I thought, that was going to be the path that I was, and it got to the point where I was depressed. I didn't have a community. I had a community of mothers, but I didn't have community of people that necessarily aligned with all my values and interests that I had prior to being a mom. It was like with this community of mothers, and it was beautiful and wonderful, and I wouldn't have traded that community, but I don't think those women knew who I was. I don't think they had any clue who I was as a person. They knew who I was as a mother. They knew who I was as a supporter and as a caregiver and as a teacher, but not who I was. And I looked at Andrew one day, and it was the height of the pandemic. So like, hello, going back to work was like, what? But I said, I got to get back to work. I didn't have a teaching license in Hawaii where we were living. So I went as a temp. I just started temping in a secretarial type or administrative role. And then I quickly found a education job and went to teach preschool. And I won't say that that's where I found myself. Because my children were preschoolers and I was teaching preschool. Not teaching my children, but it was a little more of the same. But those hours away from them, while I was teaching, and they were at a totally different preschool, allowed me to start beginning to find myself again and discovering things about myself that I had lost, and also discovering things about that I had picked up along the way in my motherhood journey. Working with other women in teaching baby wearing and helping with breastfeeding led me to social work type roles and a desire to work in social work and in some capacity. But it got me thinking about where my calling was and what I really wanted to do. So I taught for a while, and then I we moved here and I started teaching theater, and it was when I started teaching theater and talking with other theater professionals, they said, when was the last time you were in a show? By the way, I used to be a professional actress. And I said, oh, I haven't done a show since my kids were born. My last show was the first year of my marriage, and then I have not performed since. And this actor looked at me and said, how have you done that? How did you just walk away? Like, how are you happy with that? And I was like, ooh, I'm not happy with it. But it got me to thinking about who I was and where my calling was. And it was funny, through children's lay ministry here at the church and being involved here because of my children, because of being a mother, I realized that this calling I felt to the ministry since I was a little girl, that it was finally going to happen. But being your DCYFM has been a blessing, because for the first time, I left my family and went on a trip and left them alone for the very first time. And I told my husband one day, you're gonna have to take care of the sick kid because I have to work. And I said, no, I started saying no, or I started saying, we are equal partners in this, and I need help. I need you to step up. I started looking and going, why am I carrying so much of the mental labor of this household? And I started speaking up for myself in ways that I needed to for a really long time. And I've learned so much about myself through this. And I feel more myself now than I have in my entire life. And I still feel pulled in a million different directions, and I still battle the patriarchy every single day, including the one I'm married. But my biggest goal is, I brought 2 white boys into the world despite all efforts to do something different. And I said, well, if I'm bringing more white males into this universe, I am determined that they are going to be feminist, that they are going to understand the value of every single person, and that they are going to respect women above all. And that has been my goal. And in parenting my boys, I've reparented myself. As I say things to them that I wish somebody had said to me. It's okay. It's okay to do your very best and the end result not be perfection. It's okay to say no. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to stand up for what is right, even in the midst of other people telling you it's wrong. And now I talk to little Rosanna inside me as I'm talking to my boys, and I'm telling her and I'm giving her permission to be the person she was called to be, just as I give my children permission to be the people they're called to be. And
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Susanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Scott. I'm a mom of 2 little girls. They're in 4th and 3rd grade, and I'm married to a husband. We're going to be 15 years old next month. So I've been in a long relationship, and I have children. And listening to Rosanna makes me think about a lot of different things, but I think our parenting journeys have been very different. I think when we came to parenting, my husband and I, we both said, well, we want to do things different than the way we were treated. So we checked out a lot of books. The library, if you name a parenting book, he and I have probably read it. And what we wanted to create was an environment where our children felt respected, but also that they had limits. And so that's something that we've been really we've been challenged on, because children are challenging, but we have really just stuck with those 2 main tenets of just providing respect, expecting respect, and then also establishing limits. I think being a mom, while also having a job, active duty in the public health service And that means that I have a couple of different jobs. I feel like a lot of times I'm not necessarily juggling, but I have a lot of different balls in the air and I have to keep them all in the air at the same time. Even just coming over here, I called my husband, I said, make sure this child does this and make sure this happens, or I'll send a text, like, make sure you do this, because I feel like even though I'm not there, I still need to be involved because I want to make sure everything is covered. I feel like I have to like provide that extra coverage for all the different activities and tasks. We have shared calendars on the phone. So I'll put things on the calendar and that helps establish like what things are supposed to be happening during the week. And we have a shared list. So if he's going to the store, I'm like, hey, can you just go get this for me? I think I have a unique relationship with my husband in that I'm the one that's been working most of the time since we've had children. When I first got pregnant, I was leaving a job and I was up for another job. And I told myself, okay, so if I get this job, that I'm gonna work and Christopher's gonna stay home and take care of the newborn. And then, so I didn't get the job, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the one staying home with the baby. Didn't really plan on that, so I really had to teach myself how to structure my day and take care of a newborn. And at the time, I was interested in being a nurse, and so I went back to school as well. So we did kind of a split journey in that we didn't want our children to go to daycare, so one of us was at home the entire time that they were growing up before they went to school. That was something that was really important to us. And we were able to provide that. And even today, we're still able to provide that. We don't really want them to go to certain experiences. We just don't see the value in some like after school experiences. So we would rather them be with one of us. So right now, Christopher has kind of a part-time job. And then I'm working full time. So he's responsible for taking kids to school, picking them up. And I think given the nature of our relationship, we really work well together in that he knows what his responsibilities are as far as like taking care of them when I'm not there. And then when we're together, we're really working on building our relationship as a family.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, thank you.
My name is B Fox. I was born in Taiwan. The reason, okay, I'm actually agree for both of you and respect for both of you to be in the mother's challenging part. But I have never have an opportunity or ownership to have a baby in my tummy. However, I have so many children. I was kids' mother, got children and grandmother. But talk a little bit about me is that I came from Taiwan. Is much more. My grandfather was very like a boys is the most important one, not a girl. So after my aunt has 5 daughters and my mother, I'm number 2. My grandfather was always wait until because at that time the childbirth was the midwife come. I was not born in the hospital. So my grandfather waited until 3 o'clock in the morning. Another girl, no name. So I didn't have a name.
Oh.
And then until my mother, I brought 3 younger brothers. So my grandfather was so happy. So I was treated like a princess. So that's why I always want to have a lead and then take care of my brothers. And then tell you a very little stories. It was true story that when my sister was 4 and my sister was 5 and I was like 3 and my younger brother was a 1-year-old. And then we were playing outside the police station, and then there's a lot of flowers. So the little boy doesn't know, so pick up the flowers and everything. And then the policeman came in and said, "What's wrong with kids? You cannot do this." Like my sister was running like a crazy, right? Me, I know this policeman, but that's my brother, right? So I walk away. I said, "Don't touch that boy. He's my brother."
Oh.
So the neighbor said, "Oh my God, your daughter is something. She's a protector." So ever since then, so I feel like it's a glory for me. I have fun because I don't have this responsibility that you have to juggle to take the boys and something. So I really respect and adore all the mothers. But being a woman, also a Korean woman, but I respect all these mothers. So all the kids who come to my house, I feel like I got this opportunity to be a mother, even though temporarily care them, have fun with them. I really enjoy that part. So over the 8 years, I have a lot of godsons. They call me Auntie B or Grandma B. So I really enjoy that. So that's my joy for being kind of adopted mother. And that is more fun than this one. And then if they have a trouble, that I comfort them. I treat them, I bribe them. And then we're okay, kids, But I have fun and I really think that being a Korean woman, also mother, I really respect that both, especially like Winnie said, early age that you are, everything depend on the husband, we are staying home. But right now, you're not just staying home, you're also in charge, to connect all the dots in the family. Besides, you also have to have your career, like you say, you being yourself, and then you actually want to be a good mother. And then the family, and then kind of like educate the next generation. Mother's responsibility is very important. Equally important for me, the 21st century's father is also important to share mother's responsibilities, also respect a woman's career. So it's kind of, to me, is a joint venture at this moment, as a woman or as a mother. And that's my story. I'm always have fun.
Thanks, babe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace Ingero. I'm from Cameroon. I'm so happy to be here. I want to say thank you. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers. I'm married and my husband is a military, so I can relate to Rosanna's stories. We came here 4 years ago with my 4 children. You might see some of them around, the 2 tallest, black, big guys in church. And then my daughter's also tall, and Dominique running around the place. So those are my children. And then as a mother, as the previous speaker says, the life or the journey of the mother is not simple, always filled with joys and challenging moments. And as a mother myself, my journey wasn't simple, only because we moved here. And then it's a totally different place than where we were before. So coming from Cameroon, first time being in America, everything was different, new, you know? So the excitement, the happiness, the joy to move here and all what come with that were also part at the same time with the challenges. And then as I was so happy to give the opportunity to my children to be in a different environment, to study abroad, as we said, to have the opportunity, to live within a different community, to see different people, to be with white people. Let me say it like that, because coming from my place, in Cameroon, we don't have so many white around, so it was like for my children, the first time. One thing you may not know, I myself, I'm a teacher. I was teaching at the university in my country, and I did law. And also one of my field of research was security. So I worked with the military. I used to teach in the military academy, so I have to travel around. So I've been to Europe and also other places in Africa, but never been in America before. So my experience as a mother back home is totally different with my experience as a mother here. Because back home, I was working too, as Michelle and Rosanna. So it was easier for me because back home, we have extended family around us. We have all the support. My mother was always there. So the children was having a person to be with, and I was free to travel, and my husband too. moving around. We will not feel it the way I feel it when I'm here. So when we came here, first of all, I spent 1 year and more at home without doing anything. And living the way I was living before, it was so frustrating for me, being at home, not be able to work, at least find something, like not even work at university, you know, how you always being in the stage, like in front of people, speaking, then teaching, great, doing something, travel around, speak, meet people, and then suddenly you have to stay at home, like housewife.
It's a bad.
Just taking care of your husband and your children because they have something to do. So they move out in the morning, they came back, and you were here, just, you know, finding something for yourself, like you have to cook, you have to, and there is something very challenging, the loneliness, because when you come, you don't have friends, you don't have family, you don't have, and then it's so challenging, even for the children. Yes, they go to school, yes, they have activities, but at the beginning, it was hard for them. And especially because in my house, I have extrovert children and introvert children. So my elder boy is very introvert, and the elder girl too is very introvert. She's very shy. You know, Daniela, it's not that she's starting, you know, being in front of people talking, but she's very shy. Unlike Dominique, who is very, going everywhere, or Alan, who's also, you know, very brave. So you have different reports at the end of the day because they have mixed feeling coming back, and then you have to be strong. But you have your own because you have fear. You don't know. Fear of the unknown was one of the most challenging emotional feeling for me. What would be the, you know, our life? What will I do? What? So many questions without response. But you have to face it because you have to be strong for your children. You have to be there. If they are fear, so you have to, you know, say something good. If they are lazy, if they don't want to go to school, and then it's a totally different way of life. And then you have to handle it. Your husband is going to work, having his own, you know, stuff there. When he's coming back, all this, you know, you absorb everything. And then you have to stay quiet. But sometimes you feel like no one else feel exactly what you feel because you always carry what they have. But in return, they don't seem, because you don't want to expose anything. So you just carry it. So luckily, after 1 year and a half, I found a job, but it was in the store, you know, I was a cashier, which was totally different from what I was doing before. And I have to work in the night because I have night shift. Oh my God. And my husband, because we wanted someone in the house to take care of the kids. So he was working in the morning, I was working tonight. And it was so difficult. And last year, or 1 year, more than 1 year, my husband has been appointed to another country as a military defense attaché. And then he moved. So I become a single mom, in fact, with 4 children. Yeah, my husband is there. He's taking care of us. But you see, one also of the most difference between this country and my country is the cost of life. You know, if I said $1 and I try to put in our money, the currency is like 450 difference. So if I bought something for $10 and I convert it in my country, it's like, oh, it's too expensive. I don't want to do that, you know, because when I look at the currency in my country and what I have to spend here, like the cost of life, oh my God, I spend almost 1 million per month, which is huge, only for rent, no? Without what you have to eat, to wear, you know, hospital and everything. So it's, sometimes you just down, but you have to face it. the next day or before 3 p.m., you have to wake up. Because you have to stand when they knock on the door or when they ring. Hey, mom, how was your day? Good. Hi, how was the day? Very exciting. Oh, what did you do? Oh, we went to school. We have done this, and that. And then you are there. Okay, fine. Thank you. It was great. But you spend all your day in the bed, and then you just wake up at 3, take your shower. What am I going to cook today? And then you just do something very. And then when everyone's coming back, oh, mom, I'm good. It's okay. But that is our life. And since my husband leave, I quit the job again. So I'm at home. And one of the greatest thing I found here is the support. The support of Bridal Hills mean everything for me. For my family and my husband, it means everything. I found all the support between Pastor David, Pastor Denise, all the staff, especially Rosanna. And I started coming from activities, and then the loneliness start going away because you start making friends, you start having, your own stuff to do. And then, slowly you start, see the life changing because now you're being part of something. It's a little thing that is something so meaningful for you. So as a mother, I'm so glad for this experience. I thank God. I'm so grateful to be part of, this community, especially to be in this country and all the opportunity it gives to me and my family. So
Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you.
Well, I have a slightly different entree into being a parent. My kids were adopted by myself and my husband after having some medical problems and researching adoption. And they're both from China and we're part of the one child time where the girls were up for adoption and the boys were favored and kept. And the girls have really changed my life in so many ways that not only have they sort of made us a transracial family, but I've met so many people through their friends, and we live in Wheaton, which is a much more eclectic background of people. And it's really been, a dream of mine to be a mother, and I have certainly thrown myself into it. My earlier years, I had a very successful career as an artist, making glass sculpture. And it was a very unusual time where there was a movement of artists starting to use glass as a medium that had never been used that way before, but just to make functional things in factories. And I went to a program that was very pretty male dominated normally, but the year that I entered the major, we were all women, and the instructor just didn't know what to do. This was in Cleveland, and he just, his idea of success would be blowing something that was the most perfect vessel, and that really wasn't what I was interested in. And eventually he gave me a D, and he said, this just isn't for you. And I ended up going to a glass school in the summer to make up some credits, and I wasn't going to give up, but I was fortunate, just like one of these happy circumstances, to be at the school where the instructor is typically the most famous glass contemporary artist there is, Dale Chihuly.
Oh, boy.
He was,
Whoa.
he invited me to come back to Rhode Island School of Design where he was teaching. And it was my last year before I would get a degree from Cleveland, but it was really eye-opening. I'd made a number of friends there at Pilchuck School in Seattle, where the summer program was, and it was just like night and day. It was just, you know, a playground of creative people that when you look at sort of the 70s and 80s and 90s, all of these people continued. And it was just a very lively situation and supportive. And there's going to be a show coming up about a year from now at Corning Museum, which does have some of my collaborative work with another artist and some of my own. And it's a exhibit about women in glass, which I always sort of hated that term because I didn't think of myself in that way at that time. But it's very interesting that things are sort of coming full circle. We'll say that the work done then is now just as interesting to me as it was. And I grew up in Bethesda, not far from here. And, you know, my parents were very supportive of the arts, and my dad was an engineer for NASA during all the Apollo years, and he helped design and build our kilns. And I had a collaborative friendship with a student that was also in Rhode Island. And we decided to start our own company. And we actually were pretty successful at having our student work like picked up by the best galleries that there were on Madison Avenue. And that was a long relationship with them. But I will say that, you know, I had a number of bumps there at one point. We had split up our business, and I was still continuing to make my art. And the gallery owner just said to me, wow, you know, had I known you'd stick with this, we would have promoted you a lot more. But we just figured, you know, there'd be no way you'd continue. So that was really kind of a slap in the face. And, you know, he even said, oh yeah, this other woman, well, she had a husband who would help her. So, you know, we were more interested in promoting her. And that was difficult to hear because, you know, I never felt, I grew up in a family too with 3 girls. I'm the middle one. And, you know, we were never made to feel less than. And that is kind of shocking. So then after that, I started showing artwork at Maureen Littleton Gallery in Georgetown. And I made some work that's pretty relates to my own questions about being a woman. And I made these glass dresses. They're just flat shapes of 1/2-inch glass, but they're carved. I can send some of these around if you're interested. And they're carved with famous quotes about women, but they're posed as questions. So some of them are, a woman's place is in the home. No one delights more in vengeance than a woman. One tongue is sufficient for a woman. And let's see, a woman who doesn't want to make a home is undermining the nation. And it's just kind of shocking to me what is remembered. I mean, they're almost like found objects that are of a time that hopefully doesn't exist to the extent that it once did. So anyways, I think that, I was trying to do it all. I wanted to spend time with my kids at home, and they also wanted them to go to daycare too, part of the time. And my husband took a traditional job. He had been teaching, but he became the web designer at American Art Museum. And that was his career, and we knew things were gonna get more traditional at home. But, I really, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be with the kids, and one of the highest compliments I had recently from one of the kids was, that her friends wanted to come over and visit me because they really liked me. I was like the fun mom that they remember as being, treating them like humans. And so it was nice. It was a household where kids would come over to play music, and, they always felt welcome. So, but I want to just quote a friend of ours that once said, "You can have it all, but not at the same time." And I think that's very true. Nobody can be all these things at one moment. But I think when they all intersect, it's such a rich life. And, we're known for being caretakers. We have an instinct. And sometimes difficult times bring up the most beautiful moments too. So anyways, I feel very fortunate to have found my way to motherhood.
Thanks. Well, you can see that the women of the 21st century are more than, and I'm not saying that in any way to diminish anything in any woman. I'm in tears because I'm so happy to hear these stories. I feel so privileged that they were willing to share. I don't know why it's killing me, but it is. I just feel the hurt. I think I feel the hurt women have felt for years. And I'm so glad to have them recognized and appreciated. And the women of the 21st century are establishing who they are. They are not the wife of, they are the woman that they are. And we should be very proud of them and support them and commend them totally. Thank you very much.
We can't thank you enough. We want to continue this interchange within the community. We do have a tea honoring the women that's about to happen. So we will end a little bit early, but I do have a couple of announcements, and I do hope that as we hear from each other, I mean, I think some of us, for years, we know people, but we don't know each other.
Right.
And I have found out a lot about you and can't thank you enough. And I hope we can just establish, continue and develop our friendships. Really, and thank you. I can't thank you all enough because it takes some courage to tell our stories.
For sure. It
really does. And Venus, you have opened up a lot for us and with us. And I will say that at Venus's insistence, and Adult Ed Ministry, yes, Venus, we will be having at some point a similar panel about the role of the male in the 21st century. Our scheduling is a little challenging because our programming is about to end and we go to one service. So this will happen in the coming program year. But we just, we really need to come together and to continue to really communicate with each other and not to be afraid, even though we're putting the face on, to let us each other know that we're here for each other, and then we can only support each other if we know this. And so thank you for being so honest. This is a little challenging in that I have the pleasure of announcing next week's program, which is, we're so grateful again for Venus to helping us have this. And the speaker is very well known in the community, comes with the highest accolades. His thesis, his program is on the art of dying well. And we're serious about this. This is another topic that we don't hear about enough and often, and there's something we can actually learn and work with each other through. So, end of life activist Chris Palmer will be with us, explaining how a good life is achievable. His book, latest book, Achieving a Good Death, has been widely acclaimed and received, and we're very, very grateful to have him. And also this coming week, I wanted just to point out that we have a really fascinating ICPC book discussion. That's the Intercongregational Partnership Committee. It will be on Letters to My Palestinian Neighbor by Yoshi Klein Halevi. I think Judy's here. Yeah,
Yeah, Carol,
Yeah.
may I say something to both of them? I've heard Chris Palmer speak at the Sangamore Little Falls Village, and I just highly recommend it for all the living people here and around us. It is mind expanding. And as far as the book is concerned, I'm reading, Evelyn Gansglass from BJC read it, and I'm reading it right now, and I'm happy. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Even if you can't come to the book, discussion.
Yeah, I guess we'll.
It is just again, a mind expanding.
Well, the discussion will be held the 13th at between 7 and 8:30 p.m. In person only. It's not going to be Zoom, but as you say, we can read the book. But we do highly recommend it if you can possibly make this. Judy, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that's fine. You want to go?
Sorry about that, but thank you for mentioning it.
We
It is a
everyone.
point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it will only be in person, but I think
Yeah.
that engenders more discussion, more active discussion. So it is a wonderful book.
Great. Diane, did you want to add?
I just want to add another program. There is a Montgomery County Public Library program at the Connie Morello Library on the 29th.
On the 29th, thank you.
Jean Dudak is presenting her book, A Scent of Bright Light, in honor of Jewish Heritage Month.
Yeah, so for May 29th.
Yeah.
And I'll repeat that next week as well, but thanks to everyone for coming together and sharing. And we wish you a very, very happy Mother's Day. God's with us in creation as far as the weather today. And just thank you so much.
I want to add something.
Yeah, okay. Maybe say it.
We only have 5 minutes, so you ain't hear anything yet from me. Stay tuned.
Okay, well, thanks to everyone, and we'll see you at worship and outdoors, but let's continue to talk with each other and share.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So,